I would say, Alex, is that it's complex in part because it's a conspiracy theory.
I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
About, of course, the Biden, fake conspiracy that he's trying to make up.
I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
And then reframes it as a criminal conspiracy to attack Joe Biden.
I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
The Biden campaign Saturday issued a statement calling the president's side of the story a conspiracy theory.
I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
Now, President Trump is again insisting today that reporters should dig into a widely discredited, we need to emphasize that, this is widely discredited, a conspiracy theory involving Joe Biden, Ukraine, and a Ukrainian prosecutor that he helped get fired.
I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
The Washington Post and a whole bunch of other outlets have said this is a conspiracy theory. It's bogus.
I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
President Trump insisting somebody should dig into a conspiracy theory involving Biden, Ukraine, and a Ukrainian prosecutor.
I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
So here's the conspiracy theory the Trump campaign has been urging Ukraine to investigate. Essentially, they claim Joe Biden used his power as vice president to protect his son, Hunter Biden.
I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
President Trump in the Oval Office saying somebody should look into a conspiracy theory involving his political rival, Joe Biden.
I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said, I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
You're not getting $1 billion. I'm leaving in 6 hours. And if the prosecutor's not fired, I'm not giving you the money. Son of a B, got fired. Now, why would the vice president of the United States of America leverage American tax dollars and say, do as I say, and fire the prosecutor that's investigating the very same gas company that is paying my son and his firm an astronomical amount of money every single month? And that's a conspiracy theory? No. The question is, why would a vice president of the United States, well, number one, why would he think he has the authority to do such with our tax money? And number two, why would he ever involve himself in something like this if it wasn't serious? Now, at the heart of this story, we have two people that are with us for the full hour, and we're going to go through this in chapter and verse. We have John Solomon, who is an investigative reporter, executive vice president of The Hill, and Peter Schweitzer is with the Government Accountability Institute and Institute president, author of Secret Empires. Both now have been talking about this. But I will say this is another boomerang. This is another case where the giddy Democrats, your corrupt media mob, ran out ahead of a story without any truth, evidence, or facts, and now it's about to blow up in their face even more than you can imagine based on information that I know that's coming. Welcome both of you back to the program. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Sean.
John Solomon, you played a role in two very big stories surrounding this. One is that for some time now that Ukraine and the government have wanted to give America evidence of their efforts to influence the 2016 election. I thought Democrats and the media cared about that, but if it's not Trump, apparently not. That's number one. Why don't we start there?
Yeah, so listen, it is fact, not a conspiracy theory, that Hunter Biden received more than $3 million to his private investment firm in the United States and $250,000 to his private law firm from a Ukrainian gas company shortly after Joe Biden, then the vice president, was named to oversee the Ukraine-U.S. relationship. That is a fact. It is a fact that in November of 2015, Vice President Joe Biden was advised by the New York Times that his son was under investigation, and his office acknowledged they were aware of the investigation by Ukraine authorities, but that it was Hunter Biden's to deal with. A month later, it is a fact that Vice President Joe Biden made his first request to Ukraine President Petro Poroshenko in December 2015 to fire the prosecutor that was leading that investigation into Burisma Holdings, the company that had paid Hunter Biden. It is a fact in March of 2016. It's not a conspiracy theory. It is a fact that Joe Biden, knowing that that prosecutor was investigating his son and aware that his son was about to be interviewed in conjunction with the case, it is a fact that he leveraged the $1 billion in U.S. aid and forced Poroshenko to fire the general prosecutor named Shokin, who was overseeing that investigation. Those aren't conspiracy theories. Those are facts. And there's one other fact. It is a requirement of U.S. law that all federal officials avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest when conducting U.S. policy. That means if your family member has a financial interest in the outcome of a decision you are about to be involved in, you're supposed to recuse yourself. Joe Biden knew his son had a financial interest in Burisma. He had a financial interest in that prosecutor. Instead of recusing himself, he thrust himself directly into the middle of firing that prosecutor.
That is one of the most compelling issues and damning set of facts that anybody has ever laid out. Now, Peter Schweitzer has done the same thing as in his book, which is a bestseller, which is Secret Empires. And it even goes deeper. And both of you have also followed the issue of Biden and his son as it relates to business in China. But let's stay focused on Ukraine for a second. Peter Schweitzer, in your book, you go into chapter and verse what happened here. Why don't we go through that?
Sure. And let me just say, I mean, John's done a terrific service in bringing out, moving this narrative forward for the American people. But, you know, what all the people who say this is conspiracy theory don't want to deal and discuss is the simple fact that Joe Biden was put in charge as the point person in U.S. policy towards Ukraine by President Obama in 2014. A couple of months later, Hunter Biden gets this sweetheart deal from Burisma, this corrupt natural gas company. And they end up paying him according to financial records. This is not speculation. We actually have the financial records. He was getting about $83,000 a month. Now, the problem is, Sean...
Well, slow down. He was getting $83,000. Was that going directly to him or to the firm he was working for?
Well, so it went into an account that his firm held. There were two payments that came a month of $83,000, one for him, the other one for Devin Archer, his business partner, who was also put on the board of Burisma. And then, you know, Hunter would take out hundreds of thousands of dollars out of this account. But it's very clear that the board service and consulting fee for him was $83,000, and it was $83,000 a month for his business partner. And the problem is, Sean, as with China, he has no background and no expertise in anything that would be useful to Burisma. He has no background in energy. He has no background in natural gas. He has no background in Ukraine. And so the central question that all the people who dismiss this don't want to deal with is he wasn't selling his expertise. What was Hunter Biden selling? He was selling something. He was getting paid a lot of money for it, and the Ukrainians were paying for something. And that's, I think, the central heart of this story. And it gets then moved forward because with Joe Biden being the point person on Ukraine policy, he's in charge of a Obama administration initiative to rejuvenate the Ukrainian energy industry, the natural gas industry, of which Burisma is part of. Joe Biden is point person on the distribution of more than $1 billion in U.S. aid and Western aid that goes to Ukraine, and some of that money is run through the accounts of oligarchs who are connected to Burisma. I mean, this is a tangled web in so many ways, and what they are hoping is to sort of dismiss this, to have this go away. There is no rational or logical explanation as to why Hunter Biden was being paid this money by Ukrainians, other than it was a pay-to-play system, whether they're paying him for services rendered or whether they're paying him some kind of retainer because they want to tap his access and his power and his contact with his father. We don't know, but I think the American people should know, because, Sean, this is unprecedented. I mean, we've had situations before where politicians, family member, you go back to Billy Carter, you had a situation with Neil Bush, but it's nothing in comparison to what we've seen with Hunter Biden, where he literally went around the globe and struck lucrative deals with foreign governments and foreign oligarchs and cashed in while his father was vice president.
So you're talking about 2 checks per month for $83,000 each.
Yeah.
One went to Hunter Biden. The other went to, I guess, his business partner, Devon Archer. Does Devon Archer have any background experience in energy or natural gas?
No, none whatsoever. His background is he was a business partner with Hunter Biden in this, and he was a finance co-chairman for John Kerry's 2004 campaign. And, of course, remember, at this time in 2014, the Secretary of State is John Kerry. So you have the vice president's son and a former finance co-chairman for the John Kerry campaign cashing in while Joe Biden is vice president and John Kerry is Secretary of State. That's why it's so ironic when John Kerry came, to Joe Biden's rescue this weekend to proclaim his innocence in all of this. His family, in some respects, but more specifically in this case, one of his fundraisers is directly involved in this.
Stay right there. We're going to pick it up. Another piece to all of this is, well, it was actually the State Department that sent Rudy Giuliani, New York City's mayor, on a mission to Ukraine, a fact-finding mission, which is how his involvement took place. We also now know the Washington Post is saying there was no quid pro quo. But the fact, why would a vice president of the United States of America leverage taxpayer dollars funding for Ukraine when, in fact, there would be no other, you're not getting the $1 billion unless you fire the prosecutor. Who's the prosecutor? The prosecutor is the one that's investigating Burisma, the gas company that is paying a fortune to his son, Biden. We'll take a break. More with John Solomon, more with Peter Schweitzer. Want to remind you, all right, listen. All of us send emails. All of us receive emails. All of us send texts. All of us receive texts. Okay, maybe you think everything's protected. Why? Because, well, it's password protected Wi-Fi at my house. No, it's not. They can hack it. Maybe it's public Wi-Fi and you need a password. No, it's not protected. That's why, if you really want to protect your privacy in this day and age, you need Norton Secure VPN. It's a virtual private network. They use bank-grade encryption. It hides all of your online activity. What does that mean? Every email you send and receive, every text message you send and receive has the bank-grade encryption. And by the way, this protects everything that you have in a way that, well, they can't hack. Now, you install it, you log in once, you let it run in the background. I have it on all my devices. You can use Norton Secure VPN with your PC, your Mac, your mobile device. Whether you're sending, receiving information over Wi-Fi, it encrypts that information, and even if it's password protected. Now, to have the privacy you want and desire, get Norton Secure VPN. Now, it's only $3.33 a month. Go to norton.com/VPN with your annual enrollment. That is not a lot of money. That's norton.com/VPN, $3.33 a month with your first year annual enrollment. Norton Secure, norton.com/VPN.
Keeping the truth alive. Hannity is on right now.
All right, as we continue, John Solomon, investigative reporter, Peter Schweitzer, author of Secret Empires. I want to go back to real quick question. We'll get into more detail in the next half hour. John Solomon, why would a vice president leverage $1 billion taxpayer dollars and say, I'm leaving in 6 hours? You're not getting the $1 billion. That prosecutor's not fired. You're not getting the $1 billion. Why would any vice president ever do that, except that that's Burisma, that is the company that is paying his son a fortune?
Well, that's the question, right? That's why we need to get more facts and evidence so that we can find out exactly what it was that was Joe Biden's motive at the time. Here are facts we do know, things that are in evidence. I interviewed the prosecutor who was fired as a result of Biden's pressure. His name is Victor Shokin. I interviewed him for a long time. ABC News also interviewed him. He told us both the same story, which is at the moment he got fired, he was preparing to make a formal interview request to make Hunter Biden come in to Ukrainian authorities and answer, why did you get so much money out of this company and why were you sending it to the United States? That was the question he wanted to ask Hunter Biden. And as part of that, they had some suspicions that maybe some of this was designed to influence his father or as lobbying money for his father. They want to ask the question. Now, that doesn't mean Hunter or Joe Biden did anything wrong yet, but it is clear that prosecutors are at a crucial stage in the investigation.
All right, real quick.
Moment
how long
got the prosecutor fired?
We're going to pick up on the other side. How long do these payments go on for? $83,000 a month to Hunter and his partner, Peter Schweitzer. Real quick.
Well, they started in the spring of 2014 and they ended earlier this year. He remained on the board, so you're talking about millions of dollars.
Quick break. We'll come back. This is all blowing back right in the Democrats' face, and now the person that really needs to be investigated would be Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, not Donald Trump. John Solomon, investigative reporter, Peter Schweitzer, Government Accountability Institute president and author of Secret Empires. We'll pick it up on the other side. We are going to lay this out dramatically tonight on Hannity on the Fox News Channel. We'll continue.
When fake news gives you lies, Hannity supplies the truth. Sean Hannity is on right now.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
And so how do you know?
Look, here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He is violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him the question, why is he on the phone with a foreign leader, trying to intimidate a foreign leader, if that's what happened? That appears what happened. You should be looking at Trump. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum. And he's using the abuse of power and every element of the presidency to try to do something to smear me. Everybody looked at this, and everybody's looked at it and said there's nothing there. Ask the right questions.
Well, Peter Doocy did ask the right question. A very angry Biden yesterday. Hang on a second. Who's intimidating who here? Because we've just played, and we've been playing all day, Joe Biden intimidating the Ukrainians and saying, you fired. Listen, you're not getting a penny. You're not getting $1 billion. I'm leaving in 6 hours. And if the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the $1 billion. So who's intimidating who here? That would be Biden intimidating the leaders of Ukraine to fire the guy that, as Peter Schweitzer said in the last segment, yeah, that guy that was about to bring Biden's son in and say, well, why are you getting $83,000 a month? And why is your partner getting $83,000 a month? That's gone on for years. And your father steps in just before he's about to question you about this corrupt oil company. Now, so we know for a fact, Peter Schweitzer, he had no background in anything oil, energy, gas related, correct?
That's correct. Hunter Biden's background before his father became vice president was as a lobbyist. He worked for a lobbying friend of Joe Biden's who helped universities and others get earmarks in legislation, and then he ended up being a lobbyist for the online gambling industry. When his dad is elected vice president, he opens up a business with a couple of his friends. One of them is Chris Hines, the stepson of John Kerry. The other one is Devin Archer. The company is called Rosemont, and it has several branches. One of them is called Rosemont Seneca Partners. They end up doing deals in China. In the case of Ukraine, this is something that involved Hunter Biden and Devon Archer directly, that they ran through one of the cutouts from Rosemont. And this notion, Sean, that they never discussed business together is laughable, and it's actually contradicted by Hunter Biden himself, who was forced to kind of give a response to New Yorker magazine a couple of months ago on this subject, and he admitted that he and his father talked about this. So, they can't even get their stories right, father and son, as to exactly what they talked about and when.
And John Solomon, go back, because you were telling us in the last segment how, in fact, this prosecutor in this particular case, you spent hours with him. So this prosecutor was suspicious about these payments.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And he was about to bring Hunter Biden to Ukraine to say, why are you getting all of this money? And why was that gas company why was the gas company paying him in the first place? What was he doing for the money?
Well, that's a question that the Ukraine prosecutors really wanted to have answered, right? And remember, he was a board member and also paying himself as a consultant. That's very unusual to have a fiduciary role and get, payment as a board member and also paying himself as a consultant at the same time. And so that was some of the stuff that the prosecutors wanted to get to the bottom of.
Well, explain what that arrangement is, though. A board member, because it's what, $83,000 for him, $83,000 for his partner, I guess, with Devon Archer, you said. All right, so
but those are not marked as board fees. If you look at the ledger that I got from Burisma Holdings, that I actually have the company's ledger, it states that those were consulting payments. So they were not board fees. Now, maybe they misnamed them, maybe they had the wrong listing on them, but normally a board fee is a board fee, and a consulting fee is a consulting fee, and that's one of the things that prosecutors were trying to resolve.
All right, Peter, you want to add to this?
No, I think John's exactly right. I mean, look, there is murkiness here, and the problem is that in the Biden family, the two biggest deals that Hunter Biden did are in China and Ukraine. These are two countries that sadly are riddled with corruption, and they're both countries where Joe Biden was the point person for Obama policy. I don't think that is by coincidence at all, and it's precisely these types of issues. What are people being paid for? What are their roles? What is their expertise? That's so murky. And I think one of the things that the media ought to insist on is that the Bidens come clean. How much was Hunter being paid? What about other deals out there involving other entities? We know he got money from a Kazakh oligarch. What was that about?
Well, let's talk about it. What is all of that about?
Well, we don't know. There's a Morgan Stanley financial account that came out in a court case. Devon Archer was put on trial for fraud charges unrelated to these cases, and that financial record shows money coming into the account. Now, the person that took the most money out of that account financially was Hunter Biden. He would get payments on a regular basis. Money would be taken out and given to him on a regular basis. Going into that account was the Burisma money, but there was also $145,000 from a Kazakh oligarch. There was $1.2 million from a sort of Alphabet Soup LLC. We don't know what the company was, but it came from a Swiss bank that has been implicated in international money laundering. This is all money that's flowing into an account that is going in large part, to Hunter Biden. These are all foreign policy areas where Joe Biden is active and involved. And, it goes back to the heart of the question I asked before, Sean. He didn't have any of these clients. He wasn't doing any of this work before his father was vice president. So what was he being paid for? He was not being paid for his expertise. And these foreign governments were paying him large sums of money for some reason. What were they expecting, or what were they getting in return?
Boy,
John, there's a really fascinating detail. So remember, John Hines, the stepson of Secretary of State Kerry, is a business partner in Rosemont, but he chooses not to be part of this Ukraine arrangement. So they set up a sub-company to collect the money. As soon as Hunter Biden is announced on the board, John Hines writes the top two aides to his father at the State Department and says, I'm not involved in it. Just so you know, this is not me. I'm not involved in it. He wanted to distance himself at the very beginning of this Ukraine relationship with Hunter Biden. He wanted nothing to do with it, and he made that clear to the State Department. That's an email that was released under FOIA recently.
All right, let's let's go a little bit deeper, because you went through the timeline earlier in great specificity and detail, John. Where do you see this story now going? Because, well, my sources today telling me that there's a lot more to drop on this.
Yeah, there is. Remember, I filed a lawsuit a couple of months ago with the help of the Southeastern Legal Foundation, and we expect to begin to get documents later this fall about whether Hunter Biden, Burisma, its lawyers, had any contact with the State Department in Kiev or in Washington. And I think that will be a very illuminating set of documents when they come out. But here is the key thing. Joe Biden has now staked out a very clear position. My firing of the prosecutor had nothing to do with my son's case. That's the position he holds right now. We ought to see what happened.
But the timeline would show just the opposite, wouldn't it? Because the timeline is...
The timeline does, but even more importantly, let's look at what happened in the few days just before the firing and the few days right after the firing. I hope to have a story later this week that's going to bring some pretty large revelations about what was happening the few days before and the few days after Prosecutor Shokin was fired. Now, I already gave you one tidbit. He was preparing to force Hunter Biden to submit to an interview in Ukraine. But there's some other developments that were going around that look awful suspicious. If your story is this prosecutor and this firing had nothing to do with Hunter Biden and Burisma, those will come out later this week.
When you were asking the prosecutor that did get fired what he thought about the vice president of the United States demanding this, and that's why it's such a joke when Joe Biden says, oh, Donald Trump is intimidating Ukraine. I'm like, no, the intimidation of a foreign leader would be from you. And frankly, you leveraged American tax dollars. So I'm not sure where Joe's going here, and he seems to be boxed in, doesn't he?
Yep, and that prosecutor told me flatly when he was given his final pink slip from the president, President Poroshenko told him, the reason I had to fire you is you got Joe Biden mad by looking at his son. That's what the prosecutor told me. So when he gets fired, he claims the Ukrainian president said Joe Biden was mad at you for looking at his son. You stepped in a hornet's nest. You've got to go. Let's find out if that's true. That's what we got to go now report out. Let's see if Joe Biden had a conversation about Burisma, whether the Burisma lawyers were taking advantage of Joe Biden's effort to fire this guy. That's the next saga in this story.
And what about China, Peter Schweitzer? And both of you have been on that issue, but Joe Biden flies to China on Air Force Two. Hunter Biden is on the plane. Give a quick summary of what happened there and how much money's involved and what area of expertise did he have weeks after that trip to make this deal for how much money?
It ended up being for $1.5 billion. That's with a B. And the
what's the timeline? What's the timeline on this?
So December of 2013, Joe Biden goes for a trip to Asia to meet with Chinese officials. A lot of sensitive issues to discuss. Hunter Biden is on the plane with him on Air Force Two. We don't know what Hunter Biden was doing. He was not on the public schedule. But 10 days after they returned to Washington, D.C., Rosemont Seneca Partners got a $1 billion, later expanded to $1.5 billion private equity deal from the Chinese government. And, Sean, this deal was unusual. Nobody else had this deal through the Shanghai Free Trade Zone. Not Goldman Sachs, not Bank of America, not Deutsche Bank, nobody. For a guy, Hunter Biden, who had no background in China, and his limited involvement in private equity was a failed investment fund that ended up getting him and his uncle, James Biden, sued on fraud charges. So suffice it to say, it's not as if he had spent time in private equity in a successful way. And yet the Chinese government sought to give him and his firm this massive private equity deal. Now, the initial claim that the Bidens made when this story came out in Secret Empires, and Sean, I was on your show to talk about it, was that Joe Biden didn't know about it, that Hunter Biden did not conduct any official business, and there was no overlap between the two. They've now been forced to admit that, yes, okay, Hunter Biden did take his Chinese partner who was setting up this government fund with him, he did take him on that visit on Air Force Two to meet his father. So already they've been forced to admit that, yes, okay, there was this spillover between Hunter's business deals and the vice president's duties. And this, I think, is a huge problem because it fits the pattern again. Joe Biden is point person on Ukraine. His son gets a sweetheart deal. Joe Biden is point person on China. His son gets another sweetheart deal.
All right, stay right there. I mean, this is really, really an incredible story that the media mob will never tell you. It's unbelievable. But I want to remind you, in this day and age, well, so many ways cyber criminals are trying to steal what is yours. Now they're finding ways to steal your identity, your social security number, and guess what? They're taking out credit cards, loans, and people's names. They're robbing your tax refund, and then they're even robbing your bank and retirement accounts blind. Now this is happening more every single day. For example, adults make prime targets for identity thieves because of their account balances, but even a child's information, especially their social security number, well, that has even more value to scammers because they call it a clean slate. In other words, they can open new lines of credit, and kids don't have credit reports. So the identity thief can then use their information, open new accounts, run up huge debt before anyone catches on. There's so many ways in today's connected world they can rob you blind, ruin your reputation, and LifeLock sees the threats you would otherwise miss on your own. Now, this is the best deal they've ever given from LifeLock.com, or if you call 1-800-LifeLock, well, you're going to get 30% off your first year by using the promo code Hannity. The biggest discount ever. All right, LifeLock.com. 1-800-LifeLock. This is a limited time offer. Go there now. Sign up. Protect your name, your finances, your reputation. 1-800-LifeLock. LifeLock.com. Promo code Hannity to save 30%. We'll continue.
Final Hour Roundup is next. You do not want to miss it. And stay tuned for the Final Hour free-for-all on the Sean Hannity Show.
What do you think about the Green New Deal as a kind of organizing concept, set of principles?
I like it a lot.
If these two issues are in fact one issue, if there is a relationship between this complaint and this issue, you have not only this illicit conduct by the President of the United States, but you also have the added element of a cover-up.
Everybody looked at this, and everybody's looked at it and said there's nothing there. Ask the right questions.
Freedom is back in style. Welcome to the revolution.
Yeah, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song.
Sean Hannity. The new Sean Hannity Show. More behind-the-scenes information on breaking news and more bold, inspired solutions for America. Stay right here for our final news roundup and information overload.
There is absolutely no evidence to indicate that either Biden did anything improper.
I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said, I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a got fired.
What bothers you most? What are the biggest red flags in this whole Ukrainian affair?
Well, one thing I would say, Alex, is that it's complex in part because it's a conspiracy theory.
I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a got fired.
About, of course, the Biden, fake conspiracy that he's trying to make up.
I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a got fired.
And then reframes it as a criminal conspiracy to attack Joe Biden.
I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Son of a got fired.
The Biden campaign Saturday issued a statement calling the president's side of the story a conspiracy theory.
I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a got fired.
Now, President Trump is again insisting today that reporters should dig into a widely discredited, we need to emphasize that, this is widely discredited, a conspiracy theory involving Joe Biden, Ukraine, and a Ukrainian prosecutor that he helped get fired.
I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a got got fired.
The Washington Post and a whole bunch of other outlets have said this is a conspiracy theory. It's bogus.
I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
President Trump insisting somebody should dig into a conspiracy theory involving Biden, Ukraine, and a Ukrainian prosecutor.
I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
So here's the conspiracy theory the Trump campaign has been urging Ukraine to investigate. Essentially, they claim Joe Biden used his power as vice president to protect his son, Hunter Biden.
I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
President Trump in the Oval Office saying somebody should look into a conspiracy theory involving his political rival, Joe Biden.
I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said, I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
All right, there it is. Oh, I mean, I'm leaving in 6 hours, and if the prosecutor's not fired, I'm not giving you the $1 billion. That would be our tax dollars, and I'm going to leverage it to protect my son, who's investigating the very gas company that's paying his son that apparently he didn't have any background or experience in. And this now unfolds, and it is yet another example. By the way, the same cast of characters, the same liars, the same conspiracy theorists themselves, those that pushed for nearly 3 years lies, propaganda, misinformation, and got more wrong about Russia than anybody else. The media, the Democrats. I mean, here's Adam Schiff, the guy we have on tape. What is the information on Donald Trump that you have? The naked picture of Donald Trump, naked picture. Has Vladimir seen the naked pictures? Yeah, there's a Vladimir, but of course, Vladimir seen the naked picture, Donald Trump. Yeah. Can we get the pictures? I mean, it's a joke. Please tell Vladimir I'll have more flexibility after the election, but don't tell the American people. I'm hiding it from them. Or we could just say, okay, what about the $150 billion you drop on the tarmac of Iranian mullahs? Oh, or the billions in fuel that were given the North Koreans. This is a good deal for the American people. That's all I'm going to say. How did a guy with no experience, Hunter Biden, secure at the very time Dada took over the Ukraine aspect and all dealings with Ukraine? How did this company start getting all of this money put into their coffers? And then it goes to what we talked about in the last hour, the Chinese connection and flying on Air Force Two, and then the hedge fund money. Anyway, it stinks to high heaven. But what's happening here is exactly what happened. You have a giddy, we've been watching the floundering Democrats. All right, Mueller failed. What are we going to impeach him on? We'll impeach him on this. Let's bring Corey Lewandowski in. Maybe he'll say something. Let's bring Mueller in and embarrass him. Maybe he'll give us something. Okay, we'll impeach on Ukraine. We got something. It's sick. It is a derangement, a psychosis, a rage that is inexplicable. Anyway, Jordan Sekulow is with us. He's the executive director of the American Center for Law and Justice, an attorney, and he also co-hosts with his dad, Jay Sekulow, their radio program every day, Jay Sekulow Live, and he just came out with a brand new book. I read a very early copy of it, and it is really an incredible roadmap. If you care about this country and you want to win the next election, this is a must-read. We put it up on Hannity.com, Amazon.com, bookstores everywhere, and it's just out today. Jordan Sekulow, how are you, sir?
I'm great, Sean. Thanks for having me on, and thank you so much for endorsing the book. It was such a great endorsement, we decided to put it right on the front cover.
I did see it, and I was very happy about that. But, you're talking about the election.
Yeah.
All right, everything that happens between now and election day is about the election. I don't care what anybody says.
Absolutely.
I agree with your conclusion. Yeah, we could lose. You talk a lot about the deep state in this book, and, you know, the swamp is festering as the virus of deception is spreading. We've been lied to, you know, so often. Tie this into the news today about Ukraine.
Well, it's another leak from an official inside the government, a bureaucrat, who ultimately went through the normal process of being a whistleblower. That wasn't good enough, so they decided to go to the Washington Post. So again, you see the Trump administration and President Trump specifically attacked by deep state bureaucrats who were willing not to go through the normal course of process if you believe something was done right or wrong, like the whistleblower process, but to go right to the left-wing media, which they did with the Washington Post, to put this information out there, stir up all the controversy. And so what we kind of make sure that it's right on the cover of the book is that though there have been a lot of gains against the deep state, I mean, you know, Jim Comey's gone, Andrew McCabe is gone. You see people that have been removed. And the Mueller investigation is over. The deep state has not been defeated. And I think we just all got reminded of that with what just happened with this Ukraine situation. Regardless of the whistleblower, the IG, the going through the normal process, somebody in the U.S. government with access to the information or of the President of the United States, conversations with world leaders, decided to take that information to journalists at the Washington Post. So that's what we're going to be up against.
All right, but here's the
media.
But the thing is, now we learn that it didn't even come firsthand.
Of course, no. It's you know, this is probably information that is 2 steps or 3 steps removed, and yet still it's reported by the Washington Post as fact. And I think this is just the beginning, Sean, of the new deep state action and moves against the president. I think they have to be cautious on this one because of its potential effects on Joe Biden. But let's say he's not the nominee. This is just, I think it's just something we have to be ready for. It's something the book talks about preparing for, is that the deep state's going to re-engage again. They never really stopped. They've wanted to undermine this president since he got elected. Before he took the oath of office, they were already trying to get him out. And they're going to continue to do that again. I think they see that it's likely that he gets reelected, though you take nothing for granted at all. And so they need to go into action to somehow influence the American vote because the candidates themselves can't do it.
Very well said. I agree totally. Let's go and analyze and maybe apply your legal brain to this.
Yeah.
What we hear, Joe Biden, he's telling that story, and, you know, he's kind of bragging about it, and I'm leaving in 6 hours, and if the prosecutor's not fired, I'm not giving you the $1 billion. Now, why would Joe Biden, what other possible reason would Joe Biden want a Ukraine prosecutor fired except that he's investigating the very company that his son has a lucrative deal with? Now, I'm not exactly sure what an American would have to do with Ukraine oil, except we do know that Ukraine, from John Solomon's reporting, we do know that, in fact, they didn't want Donald Trump to win. And we've been reporting this for a while, John Solomon and who we just had on, that they wanted to give us information about, they didn't want Trump, and they were actively helping influence our election in 2016. Nobody seems interested in following that bouncing ball.
Right.
But why would Joe Biden want a Ukraine prosecutor fired, except that it comes way too close to his son?
No other reason. Not at the very end of your term. You're doing something that you wouldn't normally do, right? So he's taking an action he wouldn't normally do because he's about to leave office and he wants to protect his son. So he's using the power of that office and holding out the money of that office, the very end. And again, it should, that alone, that action, which he's bragging about, you know, he's bragging about publicly. It's not like you had to go digging and find that. He's bragging about it. That's where this investigation should start, is what was Joe Biden doing right before he left office, getting a Ukrainian prosecutor fired?
Well, I mean, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? But I think any American that has half a brain and doesn't have the psychosis or is not suffering from the anti-Trump, rage Trump psychosis, I think they're going to ask that question. And I think this is as big a boomerang as the Russia hoax that they've been putting on us. All right, stay right there. Jordan Sekulow. The book is called The Next Red Wave. We're going to delve into why he thinks, and I agree with him, that, don't count. 2020 is not in the bag. And people that are overconfident scare me. We'll get back to that. Anyway, it's on Hannity.com, Amazon.com, now in bookstores. The Next Red Wave, How Conservatives Can Beat Leftist Aggression, Rhino Betrayal, and Deep State Subversion. Hey, listen, I got to tell you, I love my buddies, my friends at HustlerTurf.com. And I got to tell you, they've been doing this now for 3 generations. They introduced their first zero-turn mower in 1964. They've been a leader in lawn equipment ever since then. Every single Hustler engineered, designed, assembled right here in the USA. That means, yes, jobs for hardworking Americans in the heartland that deserve it. Now, Hustler makes the highest quality, most reliable mowers. They last forever. They give you incredible performance. Now, you can go look at any retail outlet near you. You can find it by going to HustlerTurf.com. But the bottom line is, if you haven't driven a Hustler yet, you need to feel their super smooth steering. It gives you superior comfort, control. Doesn't matter if you're mowing a big backyard of yours or a football field. Hustler's got you covered. If you're a professional, just a homeowner, doesn't matter. They've got the right gear for everybody. Just check out my friends, HustlerTurf.com. Find the retailer near you, and you will be a Hustler convert like me. You're going to love them. HustlerTurf.com.
Hannity Watch. Keeping an eye on Chuck and Nancy and their minions. Sean Hannity.
All right, as we continue, Jordan Sekulow is with us. He's the executive director of the American Center for Law and Justice, co-hosts the show with his dad, Jay Sekulow Live. His brand new book out today, The Next Red Wave, How Conservatives Can Beat Leftist Aggression, Rhino Betrayal, and Deep State Subversion. I think the title is perfect because I'm even watching this weekend. And you're always going to have this group of Republicans that are weak and pathetic. They were out in force this weekend.
Of course.
And you're always going to have this deep state, apparently, because I don't know if we have the will to really do what's necessary to clean it up. And then you've got this radical new left-wing socialist party that has emerged that will bankrupt the country and destroy the America as we've known it with their Green New Deal. So how does this end? Because you say in the book we can lose.
Yeah, so I think that we have to go into this with the understanding right away that the Democrats are not going to be caught off guard. The far left, whoever the nominee is, whoever it is, how socialist they are, or if it's Joe Biden who tries to play up some moderate card but has moved so far to the left in this election so far as he's running for the nomination, whoever it is, they're not going to be caught off guard by how well President Trump does in the Midwest, how well he does in the Rust Belt and among labor union voters and among evangelical Christians, and in the portions of the country that they took for granted and that Hillary Clinton took for granted. That's not going to happen, which means we've got to increase the turnout. And so what this book does, what the Next Red Wave does, is remind people, one, how bad it was under the Obama administration. So what you could be going back to or worse, how good it has been under the Trump administration, and how much better it can be if we get another 4 years for President Trump. We elect some more good Republican senators, take back more seats in the House. I think it'd have to be a huge red wave to take back the House, but at least start making gains there so that by the next midterm, we could take back the House and really get to work. We've got Supreme Court seats we know will likely be on the table. We've got major foreign policy issues. And like you said, Sean, ultimately, the deep state, getting rid of it. President Trump, you saw the consequences of what it meant for a president to take out a top member of the deep state. That was Jim Comey. But I think he gets reelected, he continues the efforts to remove these deep state actors, and there are a lot more of them. The Ukraine story is an example of why we take nothing for granted and that we could lose if we just sit back and think, enough people are going to show up to vote like they did last time.
Extremely well written. It's a great great path to victory, but nothing can be taken for granted. Jordan Sekulow, great book, The Next Red Wave, How Conservatives Can Beat Leftist Aggression, Rhino Betrayal, and Deep State Subversion. It's up on our website right now, Hannity.com, Amazon.com, bookstores everywhere. Jordan, thank you. When we come back, wide open telephones, 800-941-SEAN if you want to be a part of the program. Quick break, right back. An awesome Hannity tonight. Let's see. Oh, Trey Gowdy, and I think Devin Nunes, and the great one, Mark Levin, and Peter Schweitzer, and the list goes on. John Solomon. Quick break. We'll continue.
Listen to this show one time and you're Hannitized. Sean Hannity is back on the radio.
For many years, you've seen dire climate predictions come and go, all of which have turned out to be untrue. So why is this one different? Why is this time the time when we only have a couple years left?
So you're breaking up a little bit, but I mean, the science has been the same all along.
Actually, let me just tell you,
rising temperatures has not changed since going back to the 1950s.
Mike, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I actually have a piece in front of me that shows a climate change, which of course you remember. In the 1970s, they said 1971, a new ice age is coming. In 1972, according to the Washington Post, Brown University putting out that we'll have a new ice age on the horizon. In October of 1974, NOAA, this is from The Guardian, satellites show a new ice age coming fast. Oh, he hung up.
Come on.
That's he hung up?
Hung up. Yeah, all the facts that we have laid out numerous times on this program. Glad to see it's now gone viral. They've been wrong again and again. Sort of like, Trump has killed millions more than Mao and Stalin and Hitler combined. Fake news, CNN. Their reaction? Silence. My IFP broke. I didn't hear a word of that. No, I didn't. I didn't say a thing. All right, let's get to our busy phones. A lot going on here. All right, let's say hi to John is in Naples, Florida. Fox 92.5, our wonderful affiliate down there in Fort Myers. What's going on in Paradise, John?
Hey, Sean. Welcome from your second home.
My second home that I never get to see because I'm working too hard. But go ahead.
I hear you. What I want to get to is I've been listening to you forever and others, and I'm just wondering whether we shouldn't kind of tone down the rhetoric on Biden and Warren a little bit. I mean, we know we can beat them easily. And we kind of hold your cards a little close to the chest and maybe do a rope-a-dope once they finally decide on who they're going to put forward to go against Trump.
The only reason I would disagree with you is this. It takes a long, long time for a narrative to get out. Like, for example, I made a conscious decision. Hannity, you're repeating yourself. Okay, when I would say Obama's record in leading up to the last election, I did it every day on radio. I did it every night on TV. 13 million more Americans on food stamps, 8 million more in poverty, the lowest labor participation rate. We had the worst recovery since the 40s, the lowest home ownership rates in 50 years. Doubles the debt, more debt than 43 presidents combined. Why did I do that? Because if I say it once, okay, maybe it sounds great, but to really let it seep in and for people to understand the magnitude of failure, you just have to assume that it takes a while for people to get it. Because, look, I love everybody that can pay attention and listen to all 3 hours of this radio show every single day. But sometimes, okay, maybe they only tune in one day or 2 days. Maybe the one day that they have to take the kids here or there. So it really takes time, and it's a narrative, and it's the truth, but you say it once and it disappears. You say it 150, 200 times, and it begins to work. It's like practicing, I don't know, maybe your golf swing, which I don't have a very good one, apparently. But it's the same thing. So the idea is we've got a lot of work to do, and I want every American to know what they're getting if they vote for Warren, what they're getting if they vote for Biden, and what they get with the Green New Deal. I want every person in this country. Now, if I said it once and then I went on to another topic, I don't think people would understand the magnitude of it. This would fundamentally destroy the greatest wealth-producing system ever designed by man. It would result in a depression. It would result in an economic crash. It would reverberate worldwide probably within a day. If they ever did we're getting off oil, gas, it would crash almost spontaneously. And I'll tell you, and if they try to raise the tax rates and come in with their wealth tax and the 90% corporate tax rate, by the way, corporations don't pay taxes. We do. They pass the cost on to us. The 70% top marginal rate. Then if you save any money, then we'll come back and take another bite of the apple. And when you die, we'll take another bite of the apple. I'll tell you what's going to happen. What's been happening in New York and California, New Jersey, and Illinois. People are leaving. They're not putting up with it anymore. And they're looking for better places to do business, raise their families with less burdensome PC bureaucracy and lower taxes, a more business-friendly environment. That's why they're going to states like Texas, and they're going to states like Florida and states like Tennessee and the Carolinas and other low-tax or no-tax states. So it takes a while. There's my answer, John. I mean, it's going to be one of them. They're all nuts. There's not one moderate. Biden was supposed to be the moderate. Yeah, he's only $2 trillion into the new Green Deal. Well, it'll be higher by the time he gets there. Thomas, Wisconsin next. Sean Hannity Show. What's up, Thomas? How are you?
Hi, Sean. Good to talk to you. Hey, I got a name for this story. I'm thinking I'm going to call it Biden Ukraine Gate, the bug.
The bug.
This story is going to have legs. And I think the big story here is the media's ignoring of it. It's just like other stories. It's incredible how they just...
It's worse than that, though. Don't you think of it. It's worse than ignoring. What they've done is they jumped in head first. Anything about Trump that they think, that they perceive, they can bludgeon him with. They jumped in, without even getting to the story. It's like what they did to Nicholas Sandmann. He's wearing a Trump hat and he's a racist. Now, guess what? They're going to pay for the libel, the slander against this poor innocent kid that didn't do a thing wrong. Just the opposite.
It's been less than 72 hours, and it's already boomeranging back at them, and they're going to go into panic mode. So be prepared. But Biden Ukraine Gate is the new name of this story.
I'm going to tell you what they're going to do. They're going to double down on stupid, and they're going to double down on dumber tomorrow.
So we're going to start calling it bug, B-U-G, Biden Ukraine Gate?
I guess we could call it the bug. The president came up with a name. What did he call it? He said, the witch hunt, the Ukrainian witch hunt.
I don't know. I like bug.
You like bug? You like bug?
I like bug.
I like bug. What kind of bug you like?
I think we should take a poll.
Think you take a poll? Where'd you go, bug? Take a poll.
I think it's hysterical.
I'm glad you're cracking yourself up. All right, Rich is in Houston, Texas, KTRH. What's up, Rich? How are you, sir?
I'm very well, Sean. Thank you for taking my call. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I love all my friends in Houston. I guess you guys are drying out now at this point.
We are drying out, and everyone has stepped up just as they did 2 years ago, and things are going very well. Cleanup is underway. As long as they can get I-10 fixed, we had a barge hit a bridge, and the bridge is out. So we're hoping to get that fixed and things back to normal.
Well, listen, we love our friends in Houston. And by the way, anybody moving to the great city of Houston, my niece lives there. I got to tell you something. Don't bring your liberal policies if you're coming from California. Don't ruin the great state of Texas because you're leaving a state that was destroyed by, liberalism, statism, redistributionism, and, of course, sanctuary cities and states.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we all hold hands together in that whole thought because it's become somewhat of a nightmare here. I live in Harris County, which is the true Houston area. And even our county politics, we have 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans, and the Dems are going for a tax rate raise, and the Republicans are holding out. So we'll see what happens.
All right. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate it. Let us say hello to Max in Palm Springs, California. What's up, Max? How are you?
Hey, great. It's great to talk to you, Sean.
Great to talk to you.
I want to give you a quick analogy on this climate data. There's a reason why they only take the last 150 or 200 years worth of data. If I went into the bank and said I want to borrow $500,000, and the banker said, let's look at the last 7 years of your records, and I said, no, I only want you to look at the last 5 minutes of my financial history because that's the data that I like. The bank would tell you you're crazy. The fossil record is full of information on the climate data, and they just don't like what it says. That's why they're cherry-picking just the last few hundred years.
Of course. And this is what Joe Bastardi, and, look, I make fun of Joe because Joe is he's a weather nut. I mean, it's his passion, but I love Joe. And, he's one of these crazy storm chaser guys. If there's a tornado, there's Joe Bastardi racing towards it when all common sense would say, get the hell out of the way. But I admire it, and I admire his passion and his knowledge about, hurricanes in the 40s and 30s and 50s and the last century, the century before that. I mean, it's pretty amazing. And what you see, what he points out is, they're using this all for political gain. They're weaponizing heat weather. That's what he says. He's right. It's a great line. Max, good points, my friend. Thank you. All right, let's see. Charles next, North Carolina. Charles, how are you? And we're glad you called, sir.
How you doing today, Sean?
I'm good.
Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you.
Sean, I was going back to a conversation you had last week after the Iranian attack on Saudi Arabia. And admittedly, I was on the way home and I checked in just as the general was finishing his comments that day. And it occurred to me, after hearing his comments, that I believe he said that the act was a direct war, a direct attack on Saudi Arabia, and it should be constituted as a direct act on the United States. And I kind of disagreed with that because, while we've been Saudi Arabia's ally for many years and had various and sundry relationships with them, we should be interested in their welfare, but I don't see how that constitutes a direct attack on the United States. We're not reliant on Saudi oil anymore, thank goodness. And it was not an attack on any of our bases or any of our people, although we may have had some citizenry in Saudi Arabia. It just seems to me that line of reasoning has been the thing that has gotten us into many, many quagmires in the past and cost a lot of American lives pointlessly. How do you see that?
Listen, I keep talking about the next generation of weaponry in both offensive and defensive, and I don't want to put boots on the ground ever. And the next thing is that, I think the president laid out a template that we ought to consider fighting, any future conflicts or wars, and that is that, hey, we're going to bomb the living daylights out of you. We won't have rules of engagement. We will try to avoid collateral damage and civilian casualties. We can't promise it because you started a war with us. And that's the bottom line. And, if it comes down, look, you can go back to the debate. I mean, there are still people that will question whether it was the right decision for Harry Truman to end World War II with Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And I got to tell you something. It's not a question for me. We were attacked. It was an unprovoked attack. We were told just the opposite by the Japanese at the time. They hit us at Pearl Harbor. We lost, nearly 3,000 of our greatest then. And if you're going to attack this country and you're going to attack Americans, we're going to hit you back, and we're going to hit you back with the full force of our military might. And that's just, sorry, that's the way it's going to be. But do I want boots on the ground? Do I want a long, protracted conflict with Iran? No, I do not. Because we don't have the stomach to fight wars, and it'll eventually get politicized, probably sooner rather than later with Trump. So any military action, we can't let them take drones out of the sky. We can't let the Iranians, lash out against the world community and stop the free flow of oil at market prices, because that impacts every country on the face of the earth. And that impacts us, too, because that raises the price that we're going to be paying at the pump, although, thank God, we're energy independent. And I've been pointing out the Straits of Hormuz are less strategically important to the United States than they've ever been. Anyway, I appreciate good call. 800-941-SEAN is our number. All right, fourth quarter coming up. That means holiday hiring is right around the corner. Now, our friends at ExpressPros.com, they have the answer for this surge in holiday hiring. Whether you're looking for a new job, maybe you want to make extra money over the holidays, maybe you need the employees to get the job done for your company, well, turn to Express. They're the experts in employment. They're committed to the success of all of their clients. Now, they have 800 locations across North America, and ExpressPros.com employs over 500,000 people every year. And they leverage now more than 35 years of experience, and they match and take pride in matching the right job seekers with the right employers, and they never charge a penny if you're looking for work. Not 1 cent, ever. If you haven't caught on, well, ExpressPros.com, they know jobs, so you need to get to know Express. Now, to find the office nearest you, or maybe you want the new job, best employment situation since 1969. Maybe you want a new job with more pay, better benefits, and a better career track. All right, go to ExpressPros.com or download the Express Jobs app at iTunes or Google Play Store. Now, you can find an office near you, search, apply for jobs, stay connected with your local office. That's ExpressPros.com.
Exposing government waste and abuse of your liberties every day. Sean Hannity is on right now.
Of all the things I think about every day, stroke wasn't one of them. Then, my brother had one. My doctor said 4 out of 5 people who have a stroke never show symptoms, but 80% of strokes can be prevented when the risk is identified early. So I decided to get screened by Lifeline Screening. In about an hour, Lifeline Screening did a series of painless ultrasound screenings to look inside my arteries and determine my risk for stroke and cardiovascular disease.
If you're over 40, call Lifeline Screening now. For just $149, a savings of over 50%, you'll get a 5 screening package that can help detect the warning signs so you can help prevent a stroke or heart attack from happening to you.
When I got the results, I went to my doctor who developed a treatment plan.
Lifeline Screening's community health screenings are coming to your neighborhood. Appointments are limited. Make yours now. Call 1-888-521-TEST. That's 1-888-521-TEST. 1-888-521-TEST.
Let's say you just bought a house. Bad news is, you're one step closer to becoming your parents. Soon you'll have a separate fridge in the basement where extra groceries are exiled forever. Remember that frozen lasagna? Of course you don't. It's been down there since 2008. Good news is, it's easy to bundle home and auto through Progressive and save on your car insurance. Piece of cake. Behind the lasagna, it's very old. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Imagining a better bank starts with looking at the savings rates most banks offer and saying, really? Capital One is building something better. You can open a Capital One savings account with one of the nation's best savings rates from anywhere, like here, or here, or here. One of the nation's best savings rates. Opened online, at a Capital One location, or from anywhere. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only. Offered by Capital One N.A. member FDIC. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
This September at local area Subway restaurants, your meal purchase will help our neighbors in need. Purchase a sub, drink, and chips and help us donate 150,000 meals to local Feeding America food banks. Subway meal includes any sub, salad, or wrap with any drink and chips or 2 cookies. For every 2 meals purchased through September 30th, participating Subway restaurants will donate 1 meal up to 150,000 meals to Sacramento, Stockton, Modesto, and Solano area food banks. 1 meal is the monetary equivalent of 10 cents. Meals secured by Feeding America on behalf of local member food banks. Come in for the sub of the day, make it a meal, and make a difference in the community.
This is Morgan Freeman, executive producer of the documentary film The C Word, and I'm here to tell you that defeating cancer takes breakthroughs. A breakthrough is the start of something extraordinary. To be breakthrough is to be brave. Many small breakthroughs can lead inevitably to a big breakthrough. The kinds of breakthroughs that advance the fight against cancer. The ones that save lives by the millions. You are the breakthrough. You, the patients, taking part in clinical trials. You, the scientists, doing next-level research to beat cancer. You, the doctors and nurses who tirelessly care for everyone along the way. Let's be the breakthrough.
To learn about screenings and clinical trials that may be right for you, go to standuptocancer.org/breakthrough. Stand Up to Cancer is a program of the Entertainment Industry Foundation. Please talk to your healthcare provider about appropriate screenings and clinical trials that may be right for you.
All right, everybody in the car. Let's go.
What are we gonna do first when we get there, Mom? Go for a hike?
Sure, if you want.
What about canoeing? Can we go canoeing too?
I don't see why.
What about a bike ride? No, I want to fish.
Okay.
I've never been fishing.
Honey, we can do it all.
How long does it take to get to the forest?
It's not.
Is it gonna be long?
No, sweetie.
I bet it takes forever.
It's not that far.
Are we there yet?
Yep, we're here.
Already? No way! Come on, come on.
It's a short drive from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Also, find fun activities to do like boating and biking or camping and hiking, plus much more. It's all right in your naturehood. A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
Hi, Mom. Is Claire's birthday party today? Me again, Mom. Where did I put my history book? Hi. Sorry, forgot one last thing. Sometimes it's hard to concentrate. At school, I start looking out the window, and then I forget what I was supposed to be thinking about. I know it seems like I don't care, but I do. It's just difficult for me. Love you, Mom. Bye.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive. Brought to you by understood.org and the Ad Council.
Hannity tonight, 9 Eastern on the Fox News Channel. Now, we've got all the players tonight. John Solomon, Peter Schweitzer will debunk every lie that the mob and the media is pushing regarding this Ukraine story. And the real culprit here and the real investigation now is wide open as it relates to Joe Biden and the financial windfall of his son in Ukraine and in China. Now, we're going to get into that. We'll lay out the timeline. We'll give you all the evidence that you need, and you make your own decision. Also tonight, Judicial Watch, guess what? We have a McCabe memo detailing how Rod Rosenstein proposed wearing a wire. More Freedom of Information Act coming out on that particular case. And Lindsey Graham is now hinting that the IG report on FISA abuse will also expose John Brennan's role for the first time, as we have suspected for a long time. Anyway, as he said, stay tuned. Anyway, that's all coming up tonight, 9 Eastern. Set your DVR. Hannity on Fox. As always, thank you for being with us. See you back here tomorrow. See you tonight at 9.
American way. Of course, the next best thing to a seat in the stands is a seat in front of a 19-inch RCA Victor television. One more day to Labor Day weekend, the traditional occasion for tasty outdoor barbecues or picnics.
completely agree with all the obstacles and with all the enemies who are between me and...
1.